Hey there everyone, this is Joe from Bullion Now, bullionnow.com.au, selling you the best bullion bars and coins shipped to you worldwide from Melbourne in Australia. This is your weekly precious metals technical analysis where I take a look at the big four: gold, silver, platinum and palladium. Of course, head over to youtube.com/bullionnow, hit the big red subscribe button, join the winning team. Come on, join the family, you know you want to. Over 500 subscribers right now. Woohoo! 526 as of right now making this video. We're moving on and up in the world, so you know what to do. And of course, I just showed you the website bullionnow.com.au. Just wanted to mention a couple of quick things. We have added a few more products to the website, and they happen to include silver maples, 1 ounce silver maples at what we think is the best price. And here for our Aussies and for non-Aussies as well, we've got the 1966 Australian round 50 cent coin. If you're not familiar with that, if you're from international, think of it like our junk silver. So in the United States, you've got mercury dimes and things like that, old US coinage, and this is old Australian coinage, which is 80% silver. Happens to work out to be a little over 1/3 of an ounce of silver per coin, and we're selling them at a very decent premium too, much less than the others, as far as I'm aware. And if you want to know a little bit more about that, hit this, click on this one right here, special 1966 Australian 50 cent round coins, and it explains that a little bit more, and it tells you the prices as well. All right, let's take a look at gold. Now, those who do keep up with the analyses will notice that last Thursday one was not uploaded. Now, I apologize for that. We were very run off our feet pretty much all last week. And just Thursday was a massive day, lots of customers and lots of other things to do. Just didn't get a chance to do it, so my apologies. But the funny thing is, I probably would have said almost the exact same thing as I did in the previous week's one, so from here. And I was talking about my bias to the downside, 51% bias to the downside in gold, silver, I believe platinum as well. Yeah, it was platinum, and the opposite for palladium. So bias to the downside for gold, silver, platinum, but then opposite to palladium. And I would have just said the same thing last week as well. And last week I did mention the dead cat bounce, or to watch out for that. Not last week, the last video, sorry, 2 weeks ago now. Whereas I'll show you here, for example, a dead cat bounce, let's do it on the weekly, is probably a much better indication. And I mentioned that if we did come down to a certain point and then come back up, I mentioned don't think right yet that it's going to then break through the all-time high. It could be the dead cat bounce where you come down, you have a fake out or a fake up, and then another shook all the way down. So I did, as I said, I was biased to the downside, very small bias, but I was, and then I gave some levels. Now, if I check on the monthly, this is on gold, I did say that I thought between, it was about 1450 and this level here of 1430 would be the possible bounce off point. We didn't get down all the way, but what we did see is that dead cat bounce on the weekly time frame. As you can see, we had that spike all the way up, but no, it was a fake out, and we came all the way back down, down to a low of 1460. I guess on this particular one it was 1459 and 23 cents. You can see there on the low. So look, it wasn't touching 1450, but is this the low? I don't know. But if we look on the weekly time frame, what you can see is that huge spike right there. That just means the price came down. It possibly triggered some sell orders for some people who had some stop losses in, and then all these buyers down here just sucked it right back up again. So that tells me, at least on the weekly time frame, or in this little period right here, that the buyers were in control of the market, because you had a lot of people wanting to scoop up some metal at these prices here. That's why you see such a large spike, a large wick in the candle. Let's take a look at the daily. And of course, we're using the tradingview.com website, and it's priced in US dollars. We'll take a quick look at the Australian dollar price as well, because we are in Australia. Again, the high of the 1560 roughly. Down there's your fake up, and then all the way back down. We are not out of the woods yet. I don't think we're out of the woods quite yet, so I might I'll give him a bias in a second, but there we really need to break above that trend line right here in order for me to be very confident that we're back on the way up. Let's take a look maybe back on the, I'll take a look on the monthly. Yeah, so I would still be wary on the monthly time frame of a dead cat bounce, where again you come up to a certain level, you have a large rise, there's your peak, back down, and then you come up and and then it goes back down again. So just bear that in mind. I think I'll stay unbiased for this particular time frame this next week. So 50-50, right on the fence whether it goes up or down from here. Let's take a look at the quick levels though. If we're heading down from further from here, I think now we would head back down to, I don't think that 1450 level, it's way too close to the previous low there. I think even there is a bit too close. So probably anywhere between, I would say 1430 and the bottom end of this trend channel, the bottom end of this trend line right here. So if we do come down somewhere between here and here, that's a big range. So maybe I'll call it as somewhere between here and maybe touching on the monthly time frame the 18 average of highs right there. So I'm going to call it now, if we're going down, that is, staying 50-50, but I would see somewhere between 1430 and about, I'm going to say 1400. Maybe I'll just make it that, between 1430 and 1400 if we're heading down. Now if we break straight through that trend line right there and we just start creeping up, the next place for me personally is all the way up here. It is at 1685, and I've shown you this one before. It coincides with this particular spike right here, and also you can see this one right there. That's just one for me, and then above that, if we just sort of smash through that, then I think you'd be looking at the $1,800 level right about there. So that's a pretty long way to go. So I would suggest if we're breaking up from here, this would be the next stopping point at approximately your 1685 to 1700 level, somewhere there. So that is gold. Let's take a look at gold in XAU, which means in Australian dollars. 2232. Yeah, it's a similar thing. You see, we came up, had that spike, down. Yep, just watch out for the dead cat bounce. You just do want to keep that in mind. Again, depends what the US dollar is doing against the Australian dollar, or vice versa, I should say. But you know, if it follows this kind of trend where you know, it sort of hits against 18 average of highs, then you might see a low. Actually, I don't think it'd get that low. I'd say the lowest would be at approximately $2085, but that's in Australian dollars, so it really just depends where the US dollar is going. So let's take a look at silver. Silver, the best metal in all of the land. Very similar thing. Look at that. We had the spike up to $19.70 roughly, and then down to that 1760 level. And the previous video that I did here, we were talking about the fact, and I'll show you on the weekly time frame, talking about the fact that we hadn't had this spike up, we hadn't had this spike down. This is where we came from, this spike, and we hit it right there. That's what I was talking about last time, where we hit that level right there. And then we had that little spike up, I believe. But I was warning, with gold and silver, I was warning dead cat bounce, where we think it's going to go higher and then break it, and then it has the thing, and we saw that the same in silver. And look at that on silver as well on the weekly time frame, the exact same thing as gold, where we had this very long wick of the candle, where basically the buyers are in control of the market right there, just suck them all up right there. And we're now currently trading above, as you can see right there, we're currently trading above this trend line once again. That's pretty good. That's good to see. But again, I think I will stay 50-50. There is room to move down though. There is a little bit more room to move down, so it wouldn't surprise me. But we are currently trading above. But you know, if it went back down and hit a couple of these levels, wouldn't surprise me at all. Let's take a look at where we could go down to. This is on the monthly time frame. If this is the dead cat bounce, so up there, and that's the fake one, and we come back down, you'd be looking, the next move would have to be absolutely down to the $16.20 level. That's as far as I think it would go, in my opinion. We'd break through this 18 average of highs, and then we might just have a pierce below it. So I don't think we would go any lower than about here at $16.20. Of course, nothing I say is financial advice, and you've got to do your own research, kids. But that's just my personal opinion. And moving higher from here, of course, so we've got that high right there, but the next logical move is going to be testing this level here at $21. That will be a big move, though. I don't see it rising just straight from here in this next week, just rising all the way up to there. Don't see that personally, but that would be the next little test right there at 21. And look, it's blue sky thinking. All right, that is... Hear that bell? That's a customer. I'm actually going, instead of re-recording, I'm going to pause and I'll be right back. And we're back. Just served another happy, satisfied customer. So where was I with silver? I think I was talking about the low points. I think I gave you those ones. And I was talking about the high points. Yeah, right there. That's about it. I wouldn't see it going any higher than about 21 for the next move above this high here of the 1960, I think it was. All right, so moving on, we'll quickly look at silver in the Australian dollar, of course. And then we'll move on to platinum and palladium, looking for XAGAUD. So as you can see, we had the rise up all the way up to that $29 level, which was past that previous high there of about 28.20. And same thing, because we follow the US spot price. We had the move all the way down back to 25. Congratulations to those. I happen to be one of them who did nab a bit more silver at around this kind of level. I didn't get it at this exact thing, but it was really quite close, so I was happy with that call. Even though if we have another drop, and we have to be aware of that, I'll probably be buying more down here as well. Just average my cost in or down as if it keeps going down from here. But as I was saying, staying on the fence, but just don't be surprised of the dead cat bounce on the monthly time frame. Okay, it may or may not happen. I'm staying 50-50. An interesting thing, I was speaking to a customer just before. It was the customer that rang the bell. They were talking about, and I had read this actually, about China and how pretty much, I don't mean to generalize, but pretty much the whole of China went on holidays this last week, and people have looked back in history, and it's shown that during these holiday periods of about a week roughly, the precious metals prices seem to have a low point. So here's a question: is that one of the major causes of the big spike down from here? Now look, we had come up from here, so we were getting overextended anyway. But it's interesting now, those holidays are coming up. I think they're finishing this week. So could that be a bullish sign for the metals? Quite possibly, you never know. But again, I'm just staying 50-50. Let's take a look at XPT for platinum. Right here, look at this chart. I love the technicals because look how well they fit. So for example, as you know, we're in this trading pattern right here in this symmetrical triangle. We did break out of it. We came all the way up, and like gold and silver, we have had a I wouldn't call it a crash, but a retracement back down, and it's right on the money. Look at that. Let's take a look at the weekly, and it's right on. Right in between actually, but it's coming all the way back down to test this trend line right here, and on the weekly time frame it's testing almost the 18 average of lows right there. So that's a pretty cool little move right there, all the way back down. So I think we are in a low now for platinum, so I'm going to call a 51% chance of higher prices from here, and that we won't be going lower from here. That's my personal opinion. Of course, none of this is financial advice, but just based on that technical coming up, that big spike up, and then coming right back down to visit that downtrend line right there. I think we're heading higher from here. I don't see coming down here. If we do, you'd be looking at 845. You'd be looking here at about 830, and then you'd be looking at the bottom end, this trend line right here. I think that's it personally. And if I'm wrong, I'm wrong, and you might be able to snap up another bargain. But that's it for platinum, in my opinion. We should talk about the higher prices. I have mentioned them, well, 10 billion times already. But the next one, coming up above this spike here of $1,000, where's going to be the next one? Because this is too close to be the next big move, and this is too close to be the next big move. The next major one is all the way up here. Now that's at, interestingly, it's coinciding with this giant big trend line right here, as you can see. So, for example, all the way there, and that's at this previous high of 1192. Let's call it 1200 for being even sake, and that might possibly coincide with this trend line right here. That's a pretty big jump, though, to go from here to here. Pretty big jump, but where could we see a price in between there? Let me just see if I can find a spot. That is a pretty big rise, and that's too small. I would say it would be here. You can see that little spike right there. That's maybe the spot. So possibly I could see it rising after breaking above here. I could see it rising up to here before having a bit of a retracement. I feel like, and feel isn't an argument, I understand that, but I feel like from here to here before a large retracement is a little bit too far of a stretch before having a little bit of a dip. So I'm going to call it the next rise that we have going past this high of $1,000. I think we're going to go to approximately $1,090. Let's call it $1,100, between $1,090 and $1,100 before we see a little bit of a dip, and then we're heading back up to this one here at your $1,200 mark. So that's my feelings, and based on the technical analysis on platinum. And finally, my good old pal Palladium. I like my call on this one. I've been liking my call, and we did see it. Not last week, because I didn't do a precious metals analysis last week, but the week before I was calling for an imminent breakout, and we have now finally seen that breakout. And man, it's amazing. Look at this stuff. So look at this Fibonacci level. Right here, the 1.618 of $1,697. I don't know if you guys can see that. But if we go down onto the weekly, what do you know? Where did the price go to? Let's actually not going to go to the daily. Before we had a little bit of a dip. We broke out, came up to here, back down to here to meet the 18 average of highs on the daily time frame, and we came up to this Fibonacci of around about $1,697, about $1,700 before we had a dip all the way back down to about $1,640. Now we're definitely on the way up again, and without a doubt in my mind, Palladium is heading higher from here. No chance it's going the other way. It's not going down from here. That's my personal opinion, of course, not financial advice. And we are heading straight for $2,000. Maybe a couple little blips along the way, but we're heading to $2,000 now for sure. And that's going to be, and it is, a psychological value, as you can see right there. And as I've said before, if we go gang wild, go hog wild, and just move higher from there, if this isn't a major resistance level at 2,000, then we're heading all the way up to approximately 2640 roughly. So that's where I think we're heading in Palladium. If you don't own Palladium, and I don't own Palladium, consider buying an ounce. I think you can possibly buy it in fractionals, but we do actually happen to have a couple of Palladium ounces in stock. So if you've got the spare cash, I would consider getting yourself into Palladium. It's not a bad idea. And finally, let's take a look at the gold to silver ratio. I'm not even going to show you the low points in Palladium because I just don't think it's going in that direction. So I'm definitely more than 51% biased to the upside in Palladium. And finally, the gold to silver ratio. Let's take a look at where we are. We are currently hovering at at exactly 85.1. We had that spike down to 80, and I have been calling, as I've said, I've been calling for a rise of up to 100 to 1 first before we see the final, big dip where, if either silver crashes and gold crashes and silver goes up, or just gold goes up but silver goes up by a higher percentage, and that's why you would see this ratio number moving down as the gold and silver price compresses, they narrow, they get closer to each other. So that's it with the precious metals technical analysis for this week. Of course, big red subscribe button here on YouTube. Check out the special on the 1966 50-cent rounds, which are available for sale at bullionnow.com.au, and the bell rings. What a great finale. That's it, gang. I'm going to go serve a customer, and take care, and we'll speak to you soon.